Yeah, I'm comfortable. Alright, welcome back everybody. Crew Talk episode 7. Last week we kind of messed up with the episode count.
We said it was episode 5, like twice.
Yeah, but it was 6.
It's alright. We're on 6, now we're on 7.
You're lying.
Stop.
We were watching these TikToks and what's the guy's name?
I don't even know.
But there's this guy, he wears his eyelashes upside down. You got gummies?
You're lying. Let me see.
Oh man. So any updates? What's going on in your life?
I actually
That's
started
last week.
summer classes I started last week, right?
Yeah. You tell me.
Started last week. So I'm just finished week 2. So that's going good. I'm taking biochemistry. Fun. Trying to knock out those pre-med requirements.
Stressful times.
Yeah, so far so good. It's a 6-week course? So
Yeah, this episode I wanted to talk about kind of abrupt cut, huh?
yeah. Just like when you asked me my interest on the last one, and you're like, yeah, so let's talk about travel.
So try to get the people what they want.
So if you haven't seen that where I was interrupted, make sure you check out episode 6. But anyways, back to business.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about inspiration, the things that inspire us to do what we do, and just like how you view inspiration, where do you draw it from, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go ahead and start off unless you want me to go first.
Let's see. As far as where I draw specifically inspiration, I would say...
Okay, let's bring it back. What's a factor that inspires you? Like, what would someone have to have or do to inspire you?
Resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Which I actually, side note, got a tattoo of the word resilience because that's always been something that continues to push me. You know, the definition I always tell people that resilience means is thriving amid adversity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get these obstacles thrown at you left and right, but you're still able to overcome those obstacles and keep pushing, whether or not you're striving for something and you fail at it, or things are going well and then something hits you and you kind of have to like refigure how you want to go about things, you know, just dealing with the obstacles in general. Mm-hmm. So that is a quality that I find inspiration in.
For me, I usually find inspiration in people who I want to be like, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. More so, like, I always have like a vision for who I want to be and things that I want to accomplish. So I draw my inspiration from people I see doing that. Mm-hmm. Almost like if someone else is where I want to be, I'm going to follow that path because they basically have the blueprints for it. And a couple people for me who inspire me are people like LeBron James, Drake. Sounds super cliche. I don't necessarily want to be a rapper or a basketball player, but in terms of using their platform and the gifts and talents that they were given to make awareness for things and to make a better life for their families, it's super inspirational to me.
So you would say you find inspiration in people who know what they want to do and they're going after it, not just people who are on the same path as you?
To be honest, it's more so people who are on the same, not the same path as me, but are doing things that I want to do. Okay. I'm not necessarily going to find inspiration in a school teacher, because like I don't have any inspiration to do that. Mm-hmm. But say the school teacher had like a business venture on the side, mm-hmm. and they were grinding in the day, being a school teacher, helping kids with their learnings, and then at night they grind on their entrepreneurship. Yeah, that inspired me because I want to be in entrepreneurship on the side of my career of going to med school. Okay. So it's definitely people who are doing the same thing or something that I want to strive to do.
Now, going off of like specifically inspiration, how would you say that you're looking to inspire other people who are in your shoes and looking for different avenues of inspiration as far as achieving their goals and formulating these dreams and figuring out a blueprint of how to achieve their goals?
Biggest thing, just open your eyes, look around. If you're looking for inspiration, the internet's a beautiful place. You can find anything, anyone on there. Mm-hmm. The people I draw inspiration from, I've seen them on TV. None of the people that I draw inspiration from have I met in person. Mm-hmm. So it's I'm not gonna say it's easy to find them, but it's not impossible to find inspiration. How I want to inspire people, I mean, Vibes Krewe is the perfect platform, or a perfect example. I want to use this platform to inspire people to get out and do things that they never thought they could do. I mean, one of my videos, we went to Japan, experiencing a new culture, connecting with people. The podcast, when we had guests on here, was to have them tell their story. So we had Leon, music producer, Tunde, journalist, David, Air Force, you, college student. Just the more you're aware and the more you see different things, gives you a better idea of what you want to be. And I just feel like either diving into new things and seeing who's a leader in that sector, or just sitting back and watching, you can find inspiration any kind of way. Hopefully you're sitting back watching Vibes Krewe, because that'd be huge.
Keeping the vibes, finding inspiration in that.
But yeah, but just I think hearing someone's story, seeing what they have going for themselves, and seeing how you relate to them, and if their path has anything to do with what you want. What about you?
I've also found that I'm inspired by people around me, their growth in getting through certain things. You know, I actually had a conversation with a few of my friends last night just about growth and how growth is different for every person. You know, whether you've been through something and you have a story to tell, even if it's that as small as being able to share that story with somebody, that goes a long way for some people who are in that particular situation. So hearing people's stories and just how they've been able to go from where they were to where they are now, how they've changed in their outlook on different things, their perspective, even their behaviors, you know, what they valued back then to what they value now. That's inspiring, you know, because growth is not easy. And one of my friends brought up the fact that growth is uncomfortable, you know, and being able to overcome that uncomfortability.
Yeah.
That's how you say it, right? Yeah. Being able to overcome that, you know. On our last episode 6, we also talked about being uncomfortable. You know, change is uncomfortable, and it's seeking that uncomfortability that you're able to grow from that.
You hitting some great points right now, because seeking growth, I mean, I just changed the banner on the YouTube channel to Chase Growth. I want that to be the motto, because like you were saying, the only way you can get to where you want to be or achieve the things people inspire you to do is by growing.
Yeah.
And I think a huge misconception is that personal growth or career growth has to be something that other people see. And I don't think that's true, because
that's for sure.
a lot of the things that make the difference are small things. Small steps lead to long distances. And I believe that if you know you're growing and you feel like things are changing for you each and every day, even if you have setbacks, the fact is that you're still making progress, or you're attempting to make progress.
And even being able to acknowledge by yourself where you were and where you are now, that's just growth and mindset. You know, you're able to see how far you've come, look at the different obstacles that may have been thrown at you, how you are resilient in overcoming those obstacles, and being able to move on and rise up from those.
Yeah, definitely. Growth. I felt like growth was too bad I couldn't think of an acronym that growth made, but yeah, overall, like, for people who don't know, who might just be tuning in, I think growth is the only way I think through connecting with people and growing is how you become your best self.
Yeah.
And not every video or not every piece of content may look like we're growing or we're achieving growth, but I try to like make sure that we're doing something different in every video. I don't want to repeat videos unless the video premise has something to do with us meeting new people.
Right.
So the Seeking Discomfort video that we did with David, we tried to get him to overcome his fear. That was some sort of growth. He actually didn't do it, but the attempt was there. So another one, what was another video that we did? Well, you tell me what you think a good video was that showed growth or showed us like somehow pushing ourselves.
I would say giving back during Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And how we went and we volunteered and we gave out meals. That
Meals.
kind of a form of growth, I would just say, is we were able to acknowledge our blessings and being able to use our ability in our situations to help someone else. You know, because we're growing up. You know, when we were younger, that's not something we were able to do. You know, whether it's just not having a driver's license, wanting to just stay inside and eat food ourselves, catch the itis, and then take a nap. But we kind of put ourselves out there and we stepped outside of our comfort zone. You know, we went and knocked on random people's houses. We didn't know what kind of situations we were getting into. Yeah. You know, so we were in that uncomfortable y'all, this word is killing me.
Addiction is very low right now.
Every single version of it. We were uncomfortable and we were able to grow from that experience. You know, now we're able to see that that's an experience we want to do again. You know, going out, giving meals, even if it's a different form of giving back to the community. It doesn't have to just be delivering meals for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I also think that, I mean, going out and conquering your fear or putting yourself in a situation where you're meeting strangers and delivering things, it might not be for everyone, but just like I said, like, growth doesn't have to be something that you document, you put on YouTube. I mean, if something for growth is like you want to become more active and every day you do one push-up, or you want to be more productive so you wake up an hour earlier, things like that. It doesn't have to be these outrageous things that put you in situations where you're like, oh, why am I doing this? It's just, there's no parameters for growth, I should say. It's kind of just like your own self journey. Like, yeah, a Buddhist monk just going on a spiritual revival.
And growth isn't linear. So even if you do that little bitty and then you go that big jump, you know, you might be going like this, but you still moving.
Oh man, I cannot stop thinking about that dude.
You got gummies? You're lying. Give me some.
Oh man. But yeah, who were some people that inspire you to grow? Like some specific people that you can name?
You.
Oh wow, I'm flattered right now.
I mean, you've gone through just about every step that I'm on the path going through. You did high school. You know, you're 3 years older than me, so each new step that you were making was a step that I was going to be making soon. You know, picking colleges, we talked about that in our last episode. Just as far as you wanted to go somewhere that was a new experience, a different environment, and I was like, well, shoot, I want to do that too. You know, and then just seeing how much that experience changed you, I wanted my own version of that. You know, and my own personal growth and stepping out of my comfort zone and seeking a different experience.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate that. It feels good to know that. I mean, even though you're my sister, it feels good to know that people that even though these things I might be doing might not be that significant, that people are watching and it's helping someone. But what are like some tools that you use or you surround yourself with to help you grow? Because it's cool to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I saw them do that, but in saying things and thinking things and actually getting them done are 3 different ballparks.
Repeat that question again.
Like, what are the tools or things you do to help you grow or to like take the steps to becoming who you want to be?
Just keeping in mind what my goals are. You know, I'm always throwing out quotes, but there was this, it wasn't even much a quote, but someone told me one time that goals are dreams with deadlines. You know, you have a dream and you recognize the steps to reaching that dream and it becomes your goal. You're looking at how you can make this work, how you can achieve this and end up living your dream.
So always having it on your mind.
Yeah. Always reminding myself what it is that I'm doing and where I'm trying to get. You know, and acknowledging that things can change along the way. You know, but as long as the end goal, I keep that in mind, even if my end goal changes, you know, but just knowing that I have an end goal and always keeping in mind what I've done, what I want to do, and how I'm going to get there.
Yeah. For me, I think one of the things I use to help myself grow each and every day is to surround myself with people who inspire me in different ways. So not necessarily like people I aspire to be, but like my friends, all my friends are doing great things, whether that be getting PhDs, working on Wall Street, playing professional sports, but just having people around me who are striving to be their best self. And it just turns out that none of my friends are doing what I'm doing, and I feel like it's almost better that way, because I think it's better to have competition, but not in the same field. Strictly off of the fact that if I had someone else who was close to me doing exactly what I was doing, it could become a little bit too competitive.
Yeah.
Almost in the sense that it was toxic, like, oh, I'm doing this and this looks better than what he's doing. So like it might cause a rift.
Yeah.
But if you have like every color of the rainbow, which you just like, oh wow, that color is beautiful, but it's different than that one, but it doesn't mean it's more beautiful than that one. And I just think that that's helped me, especially going through school, because just seeing other people strive hard was like, I can't slack off because my friends aren't.
I definitely feel that, you know, shout out to my friends because they're all doing what they got to do, you know, and that's one thing that I've been thankful for, and I've thought about that before. Every single one of my friends are doing something different.
Yeah.
You know, like a few of us may want to end up in the medical field or anything like that, but we're all going about different routes. We all have different majors, you know, we all have different interests. Presidents of different clubs and stuff. Some of my friends have studied abroad. They've studied abroad in different places. Everyone's doing something different, and that motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing, you know, and just seeing their drive and their determination always pushes me.
I just want to say that I don't think it's bad to have friends or people around you doing the exact same thing, because there's positivity in that, but just the fact that surrounding yourself with people who think differently will entice you to look at things differently in your field. So if you have a friend who always turns left, in your field you have to go right, then it'll be like, what happens if we go left? I know it's a super basic example, but just having that different perspective can sometimes benefit you in ways you might not even know.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Right.
You're like...
yeah, so what's something that's interesting you right now?
Oof. Something that is
something random that's just like, I saw this, I came across this, and I'm like, I gotta tell somebody about it.
Well, I started watching this new show, This Is Us. It's not even new. There's like 5 seasons called This Is Us. Great show. You know, I've been binging that for, I don't even know, a couple weeks now. I have friends that put me onto that, and that's been good. I have a whole list of shows that I've been trying to watch.
Yeah, huge Netflix fanatic.
I am indeed.
For me, super nerdy, but I started watching this anime called Haikyuu. It's about volleyball. It's got me regretting playing football.
Aren't you learning a new language too?
Oh, yeah, I'm learning Japanese.
Wow, give me a little something.
Itadakimasu. It means let's eat. But yeah.
That would have been convenient to do before you went to Japan.
I know, right? Too late.
Never too late to learn a new language.
Yeah, I guess so.
Just going back to our previous conversations, how do you think, I mean, shoot, you graduated from college. How do you see that you have grown?
How do I say that?
From being a little bitty boy with the bowl cut. Yo, he had a whole bowl cut. His head come like this.
I never had a bowl cut. My growth. I mean, I've learned all sorts of ways. I think at one point, my focus, I only had end goals in mind, whether that be to play in the NFL, to become a doctor, go to college. It was only focused on end goals. And after, I think, like, I started valuing the now when I got to college. So one of the lessons we learned on the football team was control the controllables. You can only control what you're doing right now. And that kind of spread into other facets of my life. So whether I became more focused on what I was doing in the moment. Not completely like being like super spontaneous or anything like that, but if it was time to do academics, I was in academics and I was trying to make sure that I made some kind of progression. If it was time to go work out, like it was all about working out, or regardless of what it was, but more so focused on putting the pieces together to get the full picture, rather than just throwing the pieces down and being like, okay, I want this to be done. Bam, it's gonna be done.
Yeah.
I just wanted to focus, and I think that's also another reason why the things that didn't go right for me, or things I wish I could have done, don't stick with me too hard, just because I know that I lived every moment the best I could. So sometimes people say like, oh, when college is over, you're gonna wish you had those years back. I mean, yeah, like it was fun. I wish I could go back, but in terms of saying like that was the best time of my life, it was the best time at the moment.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that is a very good point, to just focus on the now. Because I know when I was in high school for my senior year, I was in religion class actually, and we were just talking about like what's on our minds, stuff like that. And I raised my hand. I was like, I'm stressed about the stressors that I'm gonna be stressed about next week, because I had all these deadlines that I knew were coming up, and even though nothing was due right now, I'm thinking about what I'm about to be stressed about next week. And my teacher was literally like, well, why don't you just enjoy the fact that you're not stressed right now, and just dwell on that and not what you're gonna be stressed about later. And I took that from that moment, and I kept that in mind throughout my senior year, because you know, when senior year of high school comes around, the overglooming fact is college. You know, you're focusing on where you're going to be applying for these scholarships, financial aid, taking the ACT, taking the SAT, still working on building up that resume that you're going to be sending out, being involved in organizations, different clubs, all that kind of stuff, and not just focusing on every single day of senior year. You know, senior year flew by. You know, I got my ring, then got to ring dance, and then that just went out the window. And then it was homecoming, and then it was winter formal, and then I was looking forward to prom, which was all the way in May. You know, and I'm glad that I had that realization early on, because then I feel like I would have missed out on just living in the moment for a lot of things of senior year. So that's a really good point that people should keep in mind.
I also think that it's easy to say like, let's just focus on the now, but when the world that we live in, there's so many things hitting you from left and right. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, I only focus about the now. Like, I have to consciously like remind myself that like, yeah, something's gonna happen, but I need to focus on this. It's not just like, oh, I'm just walking through and like, oh, I see something, let's just do this now. And I think that, I mean, perfect example is like trying to build a YouTube channel. I come up with an idea, we do it, or we think of a topic for a podcast. It's hard to not think about, are people gonna want to hear this? It's gonna do well? Like, what's the thumbnail gonna look like? Are people gonna laugh at me? There's a lot of stressors involved in everything you do, especially when you're trying to put yourself out there. And like we were talking about earlier, growing it's not this linear thing where you just like say it and do it. It's like a mental process too, where you have to like commit to it, and you might go backwards sometimes, and like just like thinking about stressors that might force you to not do what you were trying to do. But it's just life, growing, the now. It's a huge equation with a lot of factors.
And I definitely do still find myself in situations where I'm worried about what I'm gonna have to do next week. You know, I got a final coming up. I'm worried about how I'm gonna plan to study for that. You know, it's still something that I'm working on, but it was just that growth of being able to acknowledge that there are some things that I can only control right now. You know, so that's more so how I keep myself grounded and kind of bring myself back to that calm space from being anxious and being overwhelmed, is just reminding myself that I can't be focused on a stress that's going to be coming to me. You know, just focus on what I can control right now, because I still have, just on the topic of exams and finals, I still have these other classes that are demanding my attention at this moment, as opposed to this other exam that's coming up in a week. You know, so it's a good way to recenter my focus and to calm myself down and be like, okay, make a list. Making a list, that is what gets me through anything.
So it's a tool that you use.
Post-its, little stickers on my laptop, you know, and I redo lists. I'll have like 3 different lists in different places just to remind myself these are what I can control each day. You know, these are the steps that'll prepare me to get to whatever I have coming up so that I'm not stressed when that time comes.
Right. Going back to the inspiration part, who, I guess, you said me. There's a lot of people out there who don't know me and haven't seen my story. Is there somebody out there, famous, or maybe not necessarily famous or celebrity, but somebody prominent that inspires you, that you can see yourself aspiring to be like? I think naming someone a little bit more notable than me might provide value to some people.
Not necessarily, only because I always assumed that like having someone who was bigger and doing it differently, their circumstances were way different, you know, and I'm not able to understand every single part of their story. You know, there's parts of their stories that I don't know. So to me, some people, it might look like they had an easy path. It might look like they only had one obstacle, but that's only one obstacle that I know. So it's easier to seek inspiration in people whose stories I know more about, you know, like that's why I said you were a better source of my inspiration, just because like I've been there with you through everything from high school and then to college. There's different transitions that you make, and then graduating college. So I was able to see every single step of your story and be like, wow, like he's really gone through it, like he's done it all and he's made it to this point.
So you got to see the documentary before it was released to the public.
That's it.
That's kind of cold. I'm gonna charge you for that though. That's an exclusive ticket.
And you're lying.
What if we got him on the podcast?
That would be amazing.
Oh man, first we gotta figure out what his name is.
But yeah, you mentioned like seeing people like Drake who are using their platforms and doing music and stuff like that. If you could pick one person, who would be that inspiration who's like on a broader field, on a bigger platform?
It's definitely LeBron James. Strictly for the fact that I identified with him as an athlete for so long, and now that I'm moving out of the athletic field, and obviously he's moving towards the end of his career, seeing the things that, I mean, it's impossible to see that LeBron James is a phenomenal businessman, and the fact that he was such a phenomenal athlete, and he's going to be making this transition to after sports in a few years, and it's going to be so seamless. That's inspirational to me, because most basketball players, any athlete, it's like, okay, the public sees them as this heroic icon for this one thing, but how is it like it's almost unbelievable for someone to be known as an icon for two different things. And the fact that he started his own school, he has his own foundation, he has a media company that he started with his best friend, and he's using his platform to not just make a better life for his family, but everything that he's invested his time in is to help someone else out. The school, I promise, is to help kids in his hometown. I don't know exactly what his foundation does, but a foundation is supposed to help someone out. His media company is to give athletes a voice outside of sports. So just all those things are just things that I'm not necessarily copying, but if I could have an impact like he had, I mean, I'd be satisfied with how my life went.
Yeah, so I guess doesn't do it justice to say he's trying to do it all. But going off of that,
that was a smooth quote. I like that.
Just going off of that, I know I mentioned that like I was able to see your growth and just see your story as it was happening, and I know some of the things that you've been through. Just to go back and let everyone know a little bit more about you.
I feel like I'm finna get ribbed.
No. And how I mentioned that you've done it all. Obviously, you haven't done everything, but you've done quite a bit. You've done karate, baseball, basketball, football. So kind of just touch on what gave you the interest in so many different fields. You know, you got to St. Aug and you were in clubs. Then you got to Yale hip hop, you know, BMU. You did different things like that. What kind of motivated you to take an interest in all of these different fields?
it might sound crazy, but I just felt that there was too much. There's too much out there for me not to have said I tried at least a little bit of those things. And the fact I still am. I was in love with sports, and like when you turn on the TV and all they're talking about is athletes and famous players and this and that, it's like, well, dang, I want to do that. So I tried all the sports. I don't remember asking to do karate first off, but I found myself in that. So that's how that happened regarding the sports. Just wanted to try them and play. Just playing sports was just fun. Yeah. So the more I could play, the more people I could compete against.
I'm glad you enjoyed playing sports because them 7 a.m. basketball tournaments.
It was never at 7 a.m. That's when you don't want to wake up.
You're lying.
But yeah, Mackenzie always talks about I'm doing too much. Not saying I'm being extra, but I get invested into projects, too many projects too deeply, and I don't know. I don't want to be like narcissistic and be like I have to have an impact on this world, but I just feel that not everyone has the opportunity to have an impact. And
you feel like you're in a space where you can use the blessings and your opportunities too.
Because I feel I would be too selfish to have all this free time, to have all these great people around me, to have access to the internet, equipment and things like that, not to do something with it and not to try and make someone else's life better.
Right.
And like looking at it right now, so 20 years from now, if Vibes Krewe does become something, I'm gonna be looking at this podcast and be looking at myself like, that young dude didn't know what he was talking about, but he was going in the right direction. And I mean, if this somehow helps someone out, I mean, I feel like I did something right.
I think it's interesting that you touched on the point of trying to do it all / not feeling like you're doing enough. You know, I was on Twitter the other day, shout out to Twitter because that's where I find all my great quotes. But someone had
Twitter
tweeted.
Monster.
Someone had tweeted and they were like, it's crazy that in our 20s we feel like we're not doing enough.
Yeah.
And it's like this is the age where a lot of people are in college. Some people are working jobs, maybe 2. They're trying to plan their life, and somehow amid doing all of this, they still feel like they're not doing enough.
Yeah, I don't want to make it seem like I'm on this desperate hunt to do everything. One underlying factor in everything I do is fun. When I'm 115 years old, if I can look back and be like, wow, that was fun. I mean, hey, if everything I did failed, if I can say it was fun, I'm satisfied with that. And so far, everything that I'm still doing, or at least went forward, was fun. And the things that weren't fun, I'm not doing them anymore. So that's I guess that's another part of growing. You have, and like you say, how can I help someone else find inspiration? Just trying them. What's fun to you? Like, what do you like? Those are all just different factors. Part of my story.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
A good story we have.
So yeah, I think we'll be going for probably about 30 minutes. We can go ahead and wrap this one up.
That brings us to the end of episode
7. So thank y'all for listening. This is Krewe Talk episode 7. I'm Tim.
And I'm Payton.
And we'll catch you again in the next one.
See ya.
See ya.
We out.